Hello and welcome to Missed Mando, a disc golf podcast covering the disc golf world. I'm your host, Robbie Holden. Joining me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Sean Galbraith. Sean, how you doing, and what have you been up to since our last episode?
Doing fantastic, Robbie. Last weekend, I played the Sizzle at the Dizzle tournament in Lewiston, New York, just across the border from us. It was fantastic. 2 rounds, 23 holes per round. It was incredibly windy, incredibly wet and soggy. The course seemed like it was like half underwater. It was a blast. Really good test of waterproof socks, which held up really, really well. Strong recommendation for waterproof socks. Sponsors, holler at your boy. It's super fun. I played MA40 and I took 4th place, which is pretty good for me. Great time. How about you? What'd you get up to?
I played in the Stones Throw Spring Open, something that we'll get to a little bit later. Similarly to you, I was playing in a very soggy and wet conditions, and I need you to send me a link to those socks ASAP so that I can get me a pair, because my feet were, by the end of round 2, my left foot was like hurting from how pruny and wet it was in my shoe because I forgot to change socks between rounds. So it was a struggle, and I'm mighty jealous that your waterproof socks held up.
Can't recommend them enough.
Yeah. We have a great show coming up for you guys today. We've got 2 interviews coming up a little bit later on. So let's jump right on into it and get into our tournament recaps. We had the Jonesboro Open going on. This was the 5th stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It was the Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open, being played, as always, on the championship course at Disc Side of Heaven, somewhere that I absolutely have to go to ASAP. Looks amazing. This year had 160 total players competing for a purse of $80,700, an increase of just over $4,000 from last year's event. Kat Merch and Calvin Heimberg were looking to defend their titles from 2023, with Calvin looking to avoid going just shy of a calendar year, but going a full season calendar, essentially, without a win, as his last win came here last season. In FPO, it was the return of Kristen Tatar dominance as the world number 1, would shoot a blistering neg 10, 1044 rated first round to hold a 6-shot lead after the first round. And she never looked back, going wire to wire to take a 9-stroke win, her second win of the season. And she's the first repeat winner in FPO so far this year. Holland Hanley shot the hot round in round 2 and would end up finishing in 2nd place, with Evelina Saladin rounding out the podium in 3rd. Kristen averaged 1016 rated for the event, making it the 6th straight event in FPO to start the season, where the winner has averaged 1,000 plus. Just a sign of the times in FPO these days. The talent is really, really improving. And that 6 straight events is a record for the division. This is also Kristen's 6th Elite Series or major win by 8+ strokes in the last 3 years, matching the total from the entire rest of the field in that span. Just so wow, such a dominant athlete.
That's
crazy.
Incredible.
Extra shout out to young gun Ellie Mittling, who tied the hot round in the final round to jump all the way up into 5th place. That's the best finish at an Elite Series or major event of her career so far. Sean, let's toss it over to you for some thoughts on the FPO side of things.
Kristen tore a hole in the course, as you alluded to. Absolutely just destroyed it, humiliated the course. And really it comes down to one reason and one reason alone. Her partner, Silver Lat, was not caddying for her. Now, as you remember, this is a theory that we raised in a previous episode, that when she has silver on the bag for her, she plays worse. Now, and this is just another one of a very few number of data points that strongly reinforces this half-baked theory. And as such, I am completely convinced of its accuracy, and I will accept no evidence to the contrary. Just keep watching the tour, and I guarantee you will see it play out just as I described. Now, normally, I prefer watching the FPO game. We've got it on DGN. We're streaming it live 3 days a week. Absolutely love watching FPO. I find it way more fun to watch. This weekend, it was not one of those weekends. There was no drama because there was no chance that Kristen wasn't going to win. That doesn't really make for particularly great viewing. It was kind of funny hearing the commentators try and inject some drama when Kristen had a slightly less than perfect shot, when she would need to screw up like 6 more times just like that in like 4 holes to still probably win it. You like a battle, you want some excitement, you want some drama. This wasn't really it. Excuse me. At the start of the final round, Holland had a very small chance of pressing Kristen. Going into the final round, there was, only a 6-stroke difference between them. And then Holland went +4 over the front half, and Kristen bulked up her lead over Holland to like 14 strokes. And Kristen basically could have just stopped playing disc golf at that point and probably still would have won. She was dominant, completely dominant in the stats this week. She was number 1 in fairway hits, in parked percentage, C1 in reg, C2 in reg, strokes gained off the green, and strokes gained putting. When your tee to green is almost 6 strokes off the tee better than second place, the second best player, and you're 2 1/4 strokes better on the putting green, no one else had anything close to a chance. But even with the Kristen blowout, this was another tournament that is showcasing the improvement of the FPO field. Last week's field average rated rounds was, or last year, the field average rated round was 936, and this year it was 943. And it wasn't from Kristen's absolutely dominant performance this year, just sort of, skewing the average up. If you take out her score, the average rating only went down by 1 point. So there were also fewer players finishing sub 900 this year than compared to last. And on the low end, the ratings were higher. So like the whole field is improving in response to, the Estonian. Some of the names in the top 10 that we're not used to seeing, Maria Oliva placed 4th. That was great. Alizra Midling, as you mentioned, tied for 5th. And Haiti Lani, she placed in the top 10 last year, and we are seeing so much more of her on coverage. And, in addition to her amazing Clash Discs popcorn commercial, it's great to see a lot of new talent really rising to the challenge of trying to take down Kristen.
Yeah, I don't really have anything more to add to that. That was Kristen. I mean, you have a 6-shot lead after the first round. It's basically over at that point, which was the complete opposite of what we had over on the MPO side, which was a completely super exciting, thrilling finish, I should say. The year of final round drama is just continuing. As going into the final round, it was Anthony Barella and Isaac Robinson tied for the lead with 4 players within 2 shots and 7 within 4 shots of the lead. Ezra Aderhold had a near perfect start from the chase card, going 5 under through the first 6 holes to come from 3 shots back and tie the lead already, while Ben Calloway also had a solid start, going 4 under through the front 9 to join a tie for the lead as well. When the lead card was finished the front 9, it was Calvin Heimberg holding a solo first place with 1 shot lead over Ezra and Ben, 2 over AB, and 3 over Gannonburr and Albert Tom with 9 holes to play. The back 9, though, was a roller coaster on the leaderboard from the start. Calvin took a double bogey on 10 to give Ben the solo lead, while there were 9 players within 3 strokes of the lead at that point. Just a jam-packed leaderboard. But going into 18, though, it had been whittled down to a 4-person race with Ben, Calvin, and AB all tied at 24 under, and Ezra only 1 stroke back. On the chase card, they would go first, of course, and Ben, he unfortunately put his tee shot just way too wide, ended up in OB, and wasn't able to hit from the drop zone either, taking an unfortunate bogey. And Ezra, he missed a C2 putt for birdie. Both of those basically ending their tournament without a miracle from AB and Calvin on the lead card. But AB, he went first when the lead card got up there. He stuck his tee shot in bounds, deep in C2, so there was a chance Calvin could put it close and, really put on the pressure. But he would come up short into the OB, allowing AB to just lay up and take the 1-stroke win. This is AB's 3rd win in the first 5 TGPT events of the season. Crazy hot start, and that makes him only the 4th player ever to win 3 of 5 Elite Series or major events to start a season, joining Barry Schultz, who did it in 2006, Paul Macbeth, who's done it 3 times in 2014, 15, and 19, and Ricky Wysocki, who's done it twice in 2016 and 17. Not a bad list of names to find yourself being associated with there. Pretty good for AB. After his 3rd place finish at Texas States and now a 2nd place finish here at Jonesboro, this is the first time Ezra Aderhold has had back-to-back top 10s in Elite Series or major events, let alone back-to-back podiums. So good to see, as you like to call him, Mr. Too Tight Pants, having a good start to his season out there. And lastly, Calvin Heimberg finished 2nd once again, and he still hasn't won since he took down last year's Jonesboro Open. This is, however, his 3rd straight top 5 finish after a rough start of the season at chess.com. And if you go back to last season, excluding chess.com, he's been in top 5 of like almost every tournament that he plays. He just still can't get the win. So something to look out there going forward in the season, keeping an eye on Calvin. But Sean, let's throw it over to you and hear some of your thoughts over on the MPO side of things at the Jonesboro Open.
Barella, I mean, as you mentioned, he continues to be on an absolute tear this year. Even when he's not winning, 3 out of the 5 tournaments that he played, he's still crushing it. He hasn't finished worse than 4th place this year. Stat Mando had a fun statistic out yesterday that if you take all the 5 Elite Series events so far in 2024, and you imagined it as a single combined tournament, AB would have a combined score of minus 131. Gannonburr would be close behind at minus 128. But then things drop off pretty quick. Kyle Klein, who hasn't really gotten a lot of press or coverage this year other than like one event, he would still be in 3rd place at minus 100, but that's 31 strokes behind. The Barella Burr show is just moving on without the field. It's going to be interesting to see, first of all, who can take down the, more majors between the two of them, and then who's going to get Player of the Year. I can't imagine at this point that it's going to be anyone other than one of those 2 guys. And, Champions Cup is coming up, so the first men's major of the year, they've got to be one of the hands-on favorites for sure. This was the most exciting final round of the season for me. As I mentioned with the FPO coverage, I usually prefer watching the FPO over the MPO. Not this week. This was riveting. There was genuine risk with every throw. In round 2, Isaac Robinson and Barella were tied for holes 1 through 4, and then there was a 2-stroke swing to Isaac on 5, and then it swung back another 2-stroke swing to Anthony, and then Isaac went on a tear, birdieing 10 of the last 13 holes in round 2. And then round 3 happened. It brought extremely windy conditions that were throwing game plans completely out the window. At one point, Simon had one of the shots of the year so far, where he threw this absolute monster sky hyzer, like 800 feet in the air, it seemed like. And then the wind got a hold of it, and it landed 30 feet in front of him, maybe. It was the most hilarious shot, and you knew it was coming. He turns his hat backwards, and he's like, I'm lining up the Simon line. It's going to be crazy. And it was crazy, and it went nowhere. And maybe the second shortest throw, other than Madison Walker's roller a couple weeks ago that went like 2 feet. This one was pretty darn close, especially for the amount of power that he put into it. It was pretty amazing. Isaac, on the other hand, he really struggled to get things going. He didn't card a birdie in round 3 until hole 13, and by then he was well out of it. Ben Callaway, he had a fantastic round, and he was in contention the whole way through. He shoots clean all the way to hole 18, and then took his only bogey of the round and lost by 1 stroke. It would have been pretty cool to see him at least get into a tiebreaker and maybe take it down, but wasn't to be. As you said, Robbie, Ezra Two Tight Pants Aderhold continues to have a fantastic season, and he also came up 1 stroke shy of Barella. Over the last few seasons, he's been the bridesmaid a few times, and is getting really close to being the bride with those aggressively tight pants. With back-to-back podiums, you got to think that this is going to be his year to take down an event finally. In terms of statistics, I was surprised to see that Barella did not lead the field in a single category this week. And he wasn't even in the top 5 for any of them as well. I think that's the first time this season that an MPO or even an FPO player who wins hasn't won at least one of the statistics. Everything he did was great, but it wasn't dominant like, for example, Kristen did in the same event. And I guess that makes sense given that he only won by 1 stroke.
Coming down the stretch, it felt like the rest of the field was almost giving it to AB in a little bit of a sense, because I think it was through 12 holes, he was shooting even par for the round.
He had a terrible third round to start.
Through 12 holes, and then he goes -6 through the last 6 holes, including a layup for par on the final hole, because he was able to eagle the par 5 14th, I think was the hole. So he that last stretch just turned on the burners, which has to be a scary thought for the rest of the MPO division, thinking that Anthony Barella could seem like he's out of a tournament and then out of nowhere just turn on the jets and come up and steal one from behind. So definitely an interesting weekend with AB not leading in any of those categories.
What a weird final round for him. Just really bizarre.
It was certainly strange. But Sean, I think there were a couple Canadians in the field. How did our guys in the red and white do down at the Jonesboro Open?
We had 2 Canadians in the field this week. Friend of the show, Thomas Gilbert, was the top Canadian in the field. He cashed, which is fantastic, in 35th place. This was his best Pro Tour finish so far of 2024. He had a great weekend of putting. I know he's had a few struggles here and there with some putting, a little bit, but he went 91% from C1X and gained 5.62 strokes on the green. He was 4th best in both of those categories on the field. He had a great one. He had a little trouble staying in bounds. This is a bit of a thing that he struggles with a little bit. With all that power, he's launched them OB, and he had in the final round he took 3 OB strokes, and he just can't do it. Just can't do that and have a chance. But still, a really good showing from him. 35th is great, and it's great that he cashed. Also in the field from Canada was BC's Max Rogitnig. He finished 78th, out of cash, unfortunately, but he'll be going on to the Music City Open with Thomas. There were no Canadian women in the field. Chantal, friend of the show, Badinsky, she was back home with the mom's new puppy, and she's going to jump back on tour at the MCO as well.
Possibly the cutest looking puppy I've ever seen in the world from those pictures that Chantal posted. It's
so cute.
Just so adorable. Yeah. So let's talk about some of our picks from this event real quick. As we talked about on our last show, Sean, you had Kyle Klein and Haley King. Kyle finished tied for 27th. Haley King finished tied for 10th. Meanwhile, I had Calvin Heimberg and Holland Hanley, both of whom finished tied for 2nd. No winners, unfortunately, picked here, but, I'll take some podium points compared to your picks there.
Yeah, my picks were not great. They were not great. Maybe I'll do better next time.
Well, you win some, you lose some, and honestly, this season has been insane to predict. Although maybe the MPO field is starting to become a little easier to predict. You just say Anthony Barella every week, and you're going to do good.
Yeah, you get Anthony Barella, AB, and KT.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're going to do pretty good.
That's easy money bet.
Yeah, absolutely. All righty, Sean. Moving on to a off the Pro Tour stop in between the Texas State Championship and Jonesboro. We had the 6th annual Persimmon Ridge Retreat in Greenbrier, Arkansas. And a good field of touring pros decided to compete on their off week, heading to Arkansas for Jonesboro anyways, including Nicholas Ontala, Adam Hammis, Kevin Jones, and more on the MPO side, and Kristen Tatar, Owen Scoggins, Kat Murch, and more on the FBO side. In FBO side, though, it was Kristen Tatar and Owen Scoggins absolutely running away with the field. Kristen would end up winning by 5 strokes over Owen, and Owen beat 3rd place Maria Oliva by a whopping 12 strokes. Kristen was able to average 1,007 rated for the event, keeping the hope alive that she can become the first ever 1,000 rated woman for the next ratings update when that comes around. Over in MPO, it was Big Jeremy Coling, who pulls off a comeback from the chase card in the final round to take a 2-stroke win over Drew Gibson. This is Big Germ's first A-tier win since he won the 2018 Waco Annual Charity Open, a total of 2,212 days between A-tier wins for Germ. Earlier in the year, he had talked during an interview about how he was at the tail end of his career and he was starting to feel it with all the young guns in the field. So this has definitely got to feel a little extra special for Germ taking down a big win here. Sean, any quick thoughts that you got on the Persimmon Ridge Retreat?
Two things quick. One, at some point, maybe disc golf needs to consider having a mercy rule for FPO. If Kristen is going to keep getting a Baker, getting 12-stroke wins and double-digit wins, like at some point, that horse is dead. You just, it's over. Like, it's mathematically impossible for you to catch up. Let's just, go for drinks and whatever. We're good. We're done. We don't need to finish this thing off. And second, I love that Jeremy Colling won. It ain't easy being a little bit older on a tour of young arms, and to win it from the chase card. I mean, that really had to feel good for him. And I love to see it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, huge for Big Germ, someone who is a fan favorite amongst a lot of people. But I've always been a big fan of Germ, as Jomez was what got me really into disc golf. So always love to see him doing good things out there. But Sean, what do you say we send it over to our first interview of the evening? We have KK Music and Disc Golf, as you might know him on Instagram. Just a hilarious guy. I'm sure lots of people listening to this have seen his clips, his viral disc golf songs. Good Putter Anthem, Bad Putter Anthem, Short. I don't know what the title of that one actually is. I just know it's Short Shorts. I wear shorts when I disc golf. Before I sing anymore, let's just send it over to the interview. We'll be right back on Miss Mando with KK.
Hey, you do froth, right? I die inside when I hear that word. Technically, it's not the right term. Correcting people seems absurd, so I let it slide, but my anger burns. Frisbee is a separate dish for another sport, but they coexist. But my family doesn't know the difference. They call me nerd when explaining this. So instead, I just say yes, I froth. Anytime my uncles try to talk, I decide there's no use to revolt, and the stakes at hand are also small. The right term is disc golf, not froth. Please don't ever say that word, cause you're really just wrong, yeah.
Tonight, our feature interview is someone I have been following on Instagram for a while now. If you're on disc golf social media, it is basically impossible not to come across his music videos all about the joy and heartbreak of playing our amazing sport. His newest album, Now That's What I Call Disc Golf, has 7 tracks, including instant classics like Lost Disc Anthem, Niced, and Scuba Anthem. It just came out last week. It builds upon an impressive catalog of disc golf-related music from his previous album called Disc Golf, which had the viral hits Bad Putter Anthem and Good Putter Anthem. It has one of my favorite tracks, Poor Sport. When he's not dropping pure fire bangers, his channel also has great content like Loser Gets Slapped and Disc Golfing with Random Items. Welcome to the podcast, KK.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show. When we first started this thing, we knew we had to get you on as a guest. And with the release of your new album, this was the perfect timing. So what came first? Was it disc golf or was it music?
Music definitely came, I don't know, music more seriously first. And then in terms of disc golf content creation, that's new within the past 2 years. And then very recently, I just kind of committed to posting a lot of music that's disc golf related. So it's been awesome, especially in the winter times, being able to transition into a lot of music content rather than being out in the freezing temperatures over the last few months. So it's been a good mixture for what I've been doing with my content and relating it back to that I make music and that I play disc golf.
How long have you been a disc golfer, and what sort of inspired the transition to become a world famous disc golf rapper?
I started first disc golf probably about 10 years ago in high school. My brother showed me it. Didn't really do much with it. Just kind of casually played. I've always been a big ultimate frisbee guy. And then picked it up more in college with my ultimate frisbee teammates. And then after I graduated, didn't really pick it up in any crazy capacity. And then I kind of just started making content, and it also grew my love for the game and playing. Prior to even disc golf content, I was on TikTok doing whatever in whatever capacity to go viral and get followers. So I actually had a pretty massive following on TikTok, completely unrelated to disc golf.
Oh, cool.
And then I decided on Instagram to start a solely disc golf account, because that's kind of what I transitioned my TikTok into. And it's just kind of been the focus for the last 2 years now.
Again, it's taken a life of its own, really, the disc golf side of things.
Yeah, it really is. I'm grateful that there's such a big supporting amount of followers that are there to watch me be bad at disc golf and make music about it. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Well, on the music side of things, I know that you have some music out that isn't disc golf related at all. I wish I could say I went back and listened to everything. I will eventually, because everything I heard was great. But how long have you been making music? Do you have any, is it formal training or is it self-taught? What's your music background?
I don't have a whole lot of music background. I've always written songs just down in my notes app, and I'm like, man, I should do something with these one day. So it was once I graduated college, I go, all right, let's learn how to do very basic production. And I started off in GarageBand and still make all my stuff in GarageBand on my iPad. But it's just been kind of me transferring, wanting to do something with my lyrics, to learning to make instrumentals and beats to put the lyrics to. And then now in this kind of newer chapter, I'm turning it into disc golf music. But yeah, I love making music regularly, and I still plan to do that commingled with the disc golf content. But just have really been pushing the disc golf music lately.
I'm pretty impressed that you're just doing this on GarageBand on an iPad. Mm-hmm. The production quality is really good. What is sort of do you have other than it being on an iPad, is there a home studio setup? You got some good mics and mixers? What are you rolling?
Yeah, so I have everything to record at a professional level. It's just the DAW system is GarageBand. I have a mic, I have a processor, mm-hmm. But if you're not too worried about the mixing and mastering details surrounding what you're doing, and you're more focused on the message, that's my suggestion to anyone trying to start making music in any capacity, is just start with GarageBand. Super easy to learn. It can do basics of what you need. It definitely lacks in terms of really high-end detail mixing and mastering stuff, mm-hmm. Which, I don't know, my music is more focused on the comedy and the message. For the disc golf stuff, that's the last thing I'm worried about.
I hear you. So you're uploading onto YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. Where are you seeing the most sort of response, the most sort of views or hits from?
Definitely Instagram. It's the most consistent, and I know how to go viral there. It's where TikTok, I know how to go viral there, but I know what I'm posting won't go viral there. So it's kind of a downside, where I know Instagram and the algorithm pretty well, that as long as it's relatable and you're getting shares with the audience that you've built, it's going to do pretty well. YouTube Shorts, I have no idea. I haven't figured that out at all.
Does anybody watch those things?
I don't know. I don't know the demographic, but that's probably the thing I have the least understanding of. But Instagram has been my main focus for the past 2 years since starting posting my disc golf content there.
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously have showed off in a bunch of videos your lyrical talent. Do you foresee any like disc golf battle raps with anybody in the future? And if so, like if there's a pro that you could go up against, who would be like that dream opponent that you'd want to battle rap on the course?
Who you got beef with? Like when's the diss track coming out?
Jokingly enough, me and my friends have talked about just starting a rap beef with a professional for no reason. Yeah, I have no real beefs with anyone, but I think just for most views, you got to go to someone at the top, Gannon Burr, or I don't know, Simon Lizotte. One of the two. I feel like if I just start beefing with them for absolutely no reason, it would be a lot of negative press towards me, but it might be the way to go.
It's
I think if it was someone like, yeah, and I think if it was someone like Gannon that understands the humor side of things, and he's really good in his own right at being a bit of a troll, as we saw when he was going between sponsors, I think that starting something with Gannon would be hysterical, and maybe he and the crew that he travels around with come back at you with a diss track of their own, which would just be, I mean, that would be disc golf news of the century.
Maybe there's some collab opportunities with disc golf's worst DJ, Kevin Jones, or to get some headlining spots at a disc golf pro tour event. Talk to Steve Dodge. Like let's get a stage up at the MVP Open and let's drop some.
That would be the dream, is to somehow be more involved in actual disc golf with my music in some capacity, and especially if it could be in some sort of diss track towards yeah, Gannon for sure, I think would be the best target. You're inspiring a lot right here.
Let's go.
I don't know what you're starting, but maybe next week I drop a Gannon Bird diss track for no reason.
I mean, I'm here for all of the drama. Feed it to me, inject it into my veins. Which tracks that you've put out so far have you seen like the biggest response from?
I mean, my very first few were just so outlandish with no, I would say like my first big one was the Short song, which was off the first album. I put that out a long time ago without really any idea that I was going to be down the line really diving into a lot of music. But that one went very viral just because the video accompanying it was also outlandish. I'm in short shorts
you
and like a
take it up
turtleneck.
in my butt is forever embedded in my brain.
Gained me a lot of followers, also gained me a lot of non-followers, a lot of haters of that video. Just like, what are you? This is bad for disc golf. And I'm like, not my problem. But but that one blew up pretty big, and it kind of did a little bit inspire me, saying like, oh, I know I can go viral with music, where that wasn't really something I thought was possible before that. So it did at least give me the motivation to keep trying, where trying to promote regular music is really hard to do. But when you're promoting something that has a funny concept to an audience that's already wanting disc golf content, it made it really digestible and helped me have that confidence to keep going at it.
Do you have any that are a personal favorite for you?
Probably the Lost Disc Ballad. It's like, that's still fresh in my head, but that was, I don't know, I felt like the delivery of the lyrics were so like serious, with such like a heartbreaking message of losing a disc, that it made it comical. Like I was probably most proud of that one. But yeah, every one I make, I'm proud of. Some I'm like, all right, I see why that one didn't do as well as others, but they all have a concept that I have experienced or someone else has experienced that kind of motivated me to post it.
So you don't make a music video for all of your tracks. A lot of them, but not all of them. Is the goal to make an accompanying video for all of them eventually, or is it sort of maybe this one doesn't need it, this one is this one is one that I want to make sure I get a video out for?
For the most part, I try and put a video out to every disc golf track I posted. It's kind of a good predecessor. That I don't even know. I'm trying to use a word. I don't know. It alludes to me releasing an album, so I get like 7-ish songs built up in content form, at least a verse worth of a video. And then after I get enough, I'm like, all right, that's enough for an album. So that's kind of what has happened with the last two. But I think all of them, I have had a video associated with it in some capacity. Other than there was one that I didn't put a reel out, but it's called Poor Sport, which has a full-length video on
My favorite
YouTube.
tracks.
Yeah, that one's fun. It was less digestible for a Reels format, so I didn't put a reel out for that, but that one still has a video out there. But yeah, for the most part, I try to put a video out for every song that I make disc golf related.
Are you are you mostly like a one-man production company, or do you have buddies that help you film or help you record, or what, are you just sort of out in the woods on a course just with a tripod, or how are you making these things?
Yeah, the music is all solo, like the filming, recording. Sometimes ideas definitely come from friends being like, this is a song. And I'm like, you're right. I need to make a song about that concept. But yeah, all the filming, recording, writing, that's always on my own. And then obviously you see the only time I involve friends are with skits or this loser gets slapped, which those are the most fun. But yeah, music is a solo project for sure.
One of your campaigns on Instagram that I get behind, maybe the most, it just inspires me, is the petition to change the nickname of disc golf to DILF. It is perfect. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know why anybody would have an issue with it. So how is the DILF campaign coming?
So far I've gotten resounding joy from my followers. They love it. From regular golfers, they hated that video. They hate everything about it. They hate that I called regular golf ball golf. That's always drives golfers crazy. But yeah, I don't see, there's nothing holding back merch that says I love DILF. I think that's the future of the sport.
Amen.
When's the merch drop?
What's say we need to collaborate on something here.
Some I love DILF t-shirts, stickers.
Apparently someone else has it trademarked. I don't get that. I don't know how
son of a bitch.
Or why there would be a DILF trademark.
That's I now I got to find out all about DILFco or whatever it is.
Whoever has that trademark.
Yeah, don't search DILF.com.
No. I should have turned on safe browsing first. Damn it. Why are these pop-up ads? So before we started, you mentioned that you're based out of New Hampshire, and I've seen, your recent content has been, there's been snow on the ground still. So I assumed you weren't in like the southern US or something like that. How do you find it making disc golf content in a northern environment, in the mountains in winter?
Yeah, it's tough for sure. I'll be honest, I played a whole lot of disc golf throughout the winter, and we had a pretty mild winter in terms of like when we got snow, it melted pretty quickly. So that was a plus, but transitioning to all this music content over the past few months has been kind of a lifesaver in terms of having a content to post for that week. It's just, rather than playing a 2 to 3 hour round in the cold, I can just record a song and then go out in my backyard and film it for 10 minutes and then put together a video. So it's
that fast.
Yeah. I mean,
one take,
I'll be on it. Yeah. The filming is for sure the laziest part on my end. I just go out back and lip sync the lyrics real quick, and I'm like, all right, that's good enough. And I am getting lazier and lazier with that portion as I've been putting up more songs. But it's it's never great doing content in the winter, but the music content has made it a lot easier.
I imagine. Has there been any sort of crossover response from the non-disc golf sort of niche rap communities? Have you seen any response from people who don't seem to have any connection to the sport?
I mean, it's tough to say for sure. Like I base everything off like what are the comments, and the comments are usually people in the disc golf community. So it's hard to really tell, but it seems like it's kind of like stuck in the disc golf niche, which isn't a bad thing. That's who my followers are and what I'm putting out, so it makes sense. No real noticeable traction from someone not in the disc golf community.
So we, when you came on, we were talking about you had gone down to the Northeast Disc Golf Expo earlier in the year. What was the response? Like, did you get like mobbed by a bunch of fans? Were there people wanting autographs, paparazzi,
panties thrown around?
Yeah, panties coming at you, bras coming off. What was it like?
No, I mean, I wish, but no, it was a lot of people recognized me, which was super self-gratifying, definitely stroked the ego a lot. But yeah, it was super tame, and I was just kind of in there. Like a lot of people that are there are also content creators, so I know them through content creation and on Instagram, and so it was nice to see a lot of those people. And then it was also just nice to see people who recognize me and don't know how to pronounce my name of KK.
It didn't seem that difficult to me. What are some pronunciations that you've gotten?
A lot of people say KC. They go KC, they go KSay, or they just go K disc golf. Those are the most common ones. And it's like, it's so close and it's such a confusing name that I'm not going to be like, that's wrong. Especially to someone that's like a fan and like recognizes me. I'm just excited that someone recognized me in public, which is cool.
Where did KK come from? Is it just based on your actual name?
It is. So it's K. My first name's Kyle, so that's where the K comes from, and then the CAY is the last half of my second name. But it actually comes from a very specific YouTube video in high school that I just kind of rolled with. But I have a video with a friend, and the video for the like 3 invested followers of mine that will go down this rabbit hole. It's titled KK and Chinstrap. And Chinstrap is the name of the guy playing the guitar in this video. I don't know who titled it or why, but I'm singing, he's playing guitar, and we have like 4 songs from high school, and they're all not great, but
love it.
There's a rabbit hole you can dive down and see those videos.
Man, deep cuts from KK.
But yeah, so I didn't even give myself that name. I'm like, all right, I already have 3 videos with that name. I'm just going to roll into that for my music persona, which then rolled into my Instagram, TikTok, and other social media persona.
Absolutely. So I just want to say my current fave track of yours is Poor Sport off your last album. I really like the older stuff, because I'm a purist.
Right.
Some of the new tracks, that's fine, but I like the old stuff. I love the flow of hit another tree, hit another tree, hit another tree, and the video is so funny. That track is absolutely it's a total banger, and I can absolutely relate to being the guy who's trying to get away with whatever I can get away with on the course, because I have absolutely no skills, and so cheating is truly the way to success. Robbie, what's your fave track?
I mentioned it when you came on. Bipolar disc golfer has been stuck in my head for a while, but also basically the entire interview since we mentioned it, I have had just a little voice in the background going, "You can take it up with my button, yeah, take it up with my button," and that was the first one that made me follow you, and it's just like Sean said, old, the old school. I'm a total hipster. I like old KK,
No, I mean, I agree. The more I'm making songs, the more like niche I'm going in, which it does create more of a very focused, where like shorts. I was on the toilet before a round and that popped into my head. And I'm like, this is funny. I should record this before my round. So I had a half hour.
Ideally after you get off the toilet.
No, I'm writing it on the toilet, legitimately on the toilet, writing
Outstanding.
it. But yeah, then I get on the off the toilet, and I recorded it like in a half hour. I showed my friends on that round. I'm like, hey, can we record this? Like, I think it's funny. They're like, yeah, this is hilarious. So the immediate gratification and them hyping it up also was fun. And in the moment, it worked so quickly, where some of these other ones are so hyper focused on the topic. And maybe I gotta get back to the old KK and just get back to my roots.
I mean, but Lost Disc Anthem, like I don't want to brush over how good that track is. Like it is. I've spent half an hour neck deep in a lake trying to get my favorite disc back, and it's just I never did, and it still haunts me, that lost disc. I understand, and all disc golfers understand that song and the heartbreak that it brings. And thank you, for bringing that to us, letting us express that through your music. It's a beautiful thing. It's absolutely fantastic. We put out a question on our Instagram asking for questions from your fans, of which there are many. And so we're going to go through a few of those questions now. One related to you talking about sort of deep cuts and more niche sort of tracks. Brennan 10 asks, when can we expect a Black Ace music video? I don't know if that is a song that you've already written and he already knows about this, or if he's just dropping a hint as a track that he wants to hear.
I think it's the latter, and I believe it was him. He's mentioned it, and I'm like, that's, again, not a bad idea.
Fantastic.
I haven't started writing it yet, but again, the process of starting writing and posting the music video is usually within a day. So it's on the list. It's on my list right now, song topics. I just that's a tough one. I don't know the direction yet to go with it to make it really funny. And that's what I'm still trying to figure out right now. But it's on the list. I want to make it. It will require me to get some Black Ace footage, though, which also is going to be tough.
I just fake it.
Right.
So Catch Disc wants to know, what is your favorite disc or mold? That's just like the standard intro disc golf interview question.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of made a video about it, but I own like 8 buzzes. That's just my go-to mid-range, and they're all feed in to different capacities where I can do whatever I want with them. And for the fairway drivers, it's a Money Tree, which is an AGL disc. Shout out to my sponsor. Gotta obviously say one of their discs, but the Money Tree is my
we'll get to that
of their discs. And the closest thing to it that I've seen in other brands is the Essence from Discmania. Really like that one as well. But it's just, you can put it on a hyzer, flips up to flat, goes straight for 250, and I can do that 1 out of every 25 times I try it.
Perfect ratio.
Yeah. But when I hit it that one time, it's crazy.
JMac DG13 had 2 questions. First, how big was the dill disc? We don't need to explain this. People, if you know, you know. And I think most people who know, you know it. So how big was the dill disc?
So first off, phenomenal question.
Yes.
Second off, how in depth do we want to go here? Because what the dill disc actually is much more wild than you can ever imagine.
And he didn't specify length, girth. He wasn't. It was vague. I think so. Let's go in depth. Let's go deep on the dill disc.
This is an exclusive then to your podcast. I've never
absolutely
exposed this to the public, but the dill disc is actually the inside of a fleshlight, which is way weirder.
It's so much better than I could have possibly imagined.
Yeah, and no one knows that. But I don't own a dildo, but I do own the inside of a fleshlight, and that was what is strapped to that. So lengthwise, it's like 9 inches long, but girth, it's a respectable girth of a fleshlight.
It's so much better than I could have possibly hoped for when I asked the question. Thank you. Truly, thank you, JMac DG13 for sending in that question. It really, I probably should have saved that for the last one.
That's a good snippet you'll want to use.
Solid. Oh yeah.
I was golden.
We're clicking that one out.
I was going to get clicks.
Yeah. He also wanted to know, what is your favorite bit to do while disc golfing? I'm not entirely sure.
I do a lot of bits. So
okay,
like
great.
When I'm disc golfing with friends, it's I think my favorite bit is when someone else releases a shot that's going right at a tree. While it's in the air, I go, man, if it gets through that tree, you're golden. And then it just smacks the tree. And I'm like, almost. That's for sure my favorite bit to do. And then probably another bit I do all the time is when I shank a shot, you just say, get in the hole. And that's funny every time when it's nowhere close.
Of course. What's your favorite so you've got like a series of non-music videos like the disc golfing with regular stuff or loser gets slapped. First, can we expect any other of new series to drop or more of that along of those series? And how do you like doing those ones?
The loser gets slapped ones are so easy and just fun. And like I get to include whoever I'm on a round with that wants to be in my content. So those won't ever stop. And then in terms of other content, I don't know. I know what goes viral, and it's easy to get a viral clip in terms of like, you just want a 7 to 10 second video with something funny and snappy, and those will get you hundreds of thousands of views. I've been doing those a lot less lately, but I still plan on doing some of those. Like specifically the DILF one was like me being like, man, I haven't really had a big viral video in a while. Let me do this because I know the concept's funny and it'll get shares and it's short and it'll go viral.
So what kind of view counts does one of your viral hits sort of generate? And have you been able to actually monetize any of them yet? I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, not like in any crazy capacity, but Facebook's monetized for me. So all my stuff cross posts from Instagram and Facebook as well. So I get some revenue there. TikTok, I get some revenue from ads in the creator fund. But it is really like, I don't know, how long do I do this before I can make a realistic money on it or I quit? Those are like kind of the two options. I either am making enough money to where I'm going to continue to do it, or I've done it for so long not making a lot of money, and it's like, I'm a adult who's getting married, trying to buy a house and doing other real world stuff that I don't have a lot of time to make content. But I definitely got sidetracked with what the initial question was. I think it was related to what content am I doing? I don't know how.
Yeah. What what kind of numbers do you consider viral? You said 100,000. That seems pretty good.
And I mean
these things.
TikTok also changed the way the creator views the plays too. So it kind of like puts a fake number in your head. It used to just be plays, but now they count replays, which kind of inflates all the views, which from a creator standpoint, I'm like, that's great. I have another viral video, but it'll be like, oh no, you actually only have 30,000 views, but 150,000 including these replays, which I don't exactly know what it means, but I think it just means someone watched it more than once or shared it. I don't really know, but it inflated a lot of my numbers, which from my standpoint is not a bad thing. It looks good, I guess, from what I'm hoping to do as a creator. But yeah, I think go on.
Which service should people, really stream your stuff 24/7 on to make sure that you can make some money so we can get way more pure fire hits out of this?
On top of that, is there another way that people can support you? Like, do you have like a Patreon or anything like that people that like your content can support you by?
Yeah, no Patreon. Like, I don't want to take people's money. I want to take the app's money. So I want the app to earn me money. Which I don't know. I've been working to get to a point where I'm at least making some money, but it's like I still have a day job from 9 to 5. So
sure.
I don't know. I don't see a realistic avenue at the moment to be making a life-changing amount of money. Like, I look at some of the other big creators, like Another Round Disc Golf. Like, he has so many other avenues of creating money through disc golf, which is
he has a store.
Awesomeness. Right. I don't see myself creating a store,
sure,
or trying to get money that way. Which unfortunately, I don't think there's like a realistic way to make money in such a niche.
Merch.
Yeah, for sure. Merch. I'm currently with Cardinal Disc Golf. So it's like, I don't know, kind of that question of, do I branch out and do some of my own merch to try and get more money that way? Maybe, but it's also like having a 9 to 5 job makes it tough to commit to. Yeah, exactly. Sure.
So another one from the listener questions, Welsh disc golfer from Denmark. I wonder where they're from. They want to know, where do you get the inspiration for your tracks?
I feel like he's purposely setting up this answer. So he requested the Good Putters anthem.
Insider.
Nice.
So he was the direct inspiration for technically the Bad Putters anthem. He requested a Good Putters anthem. I go, that's not funny. That's not going to go viral. So I made the Bad Putters anthem in response to him requesting that, which that one went very viral, as I expected. And then I'm like, all right, I feel bad that he requested this, and I gave him the exact opposite. So then I made the Good Putters anthem like a couple days later to kind of play both sides of good and bad, which that one didn't do as well, but I felt like I purposely made the song sound better than, like, I don't know, ones that rely on comedy. I'm not too worried about it actually being a good sounding song. Where the Good Putters anthem, I'm like, all right, I'm going to drop something that people can listen to and be like, this is actually kind of decent for a guy who's rapping about disc golf.
Sounds amazing. Absolutely sounds amazing. Mulligan asks, which video did you have the least fun making? Like, do you have there been any that have been a little bit of a slog, or it's like, okay, this is fine?
That's a good question. I try to have fun with all my videos, but I think it's just more circumstantial. The second verse of the short song was at Maple Hill, and in my head I had like, this is going to be crazy. We're going to be doing such outrageous stuff on like one of the most iconic courses in the world. But we went and it was like 29 degrees, and like this whole verse the whole second verse was about rapping or about disc golfing, essentially wearing a thong while in short shorts. So it was
in the winter
filming this, and like, I'm happy my friend is at least doing this, but his hands are freezing, like just holding my camera. I'm freezing trying to get these shots. I'm messing up lines, and like only I would notice because I put it together, but there's a verse that I completely said backwards, so it cuts weird in the video. So it's that was like kind of probably one of the worst experiences filming, and like more forced because I was like, I want to get a audio or a video portion to the second verse for for the short song.
Can you get Steve Dodge in a pair of short shorts with his blazer out on Maple Hill? Like, can you make this happen?
I haven't had any contact with him, but maybe that's what I gotta take away from this podcast is reach out to him. Currently, so Eric Oakley is a huge fan of the short song,
Awesome.
and him and I have talked about doing some sort of either recreating the song, collabing around the song. He loves it. Yeah, and I'm in for it. I think yeah, maybe MVP Open / I forget is it the Ella Bean one that's in Vermont? But
yeah, that's the LLB. There's the there's
Ella Bean did sponsor Worlds when it was in Vermont, and then there's GMC.
He would probably be at Maine States because that's a Thought Space tournament,
right? But yeah, so we've talked about when he's in New England, we will collab, but has yet to happen yet. It's on the docket, and I'm excited for it.
Make that happen. That would be absolutely amazing. One last listener question. Burge Sarah asks if you have any bucket list courses to play. I mean, you live near the best course, in the world, basically, Maple Hill. Where you want to go play?
Yeah, I don't know. It is weird because I do live in not right next, a couple hour drive from Maple Hill. So I played there a handful of times. I played Flying Armadillo in Texas randomly when I was in college, which is
so fun.
It was probably my favorite course I've played, and I want to get back there. But in terms of bucket list, like I have a few local ones that I haven't been to yet, like Meadowbrook Farm, which is also in Massachusetts. That's on my list. But there's not really one that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm like, oh, I've seen this a lot. I want to get there because to me, Maple Hill is that, and I'm lucky enough to have been there.
Toronto Island Disc Golf Course. Add it to your list, and then we will see you when you come up to Toronto.
All right, and then we'll make a trip out of it.
Loser gets slap video on the island. Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But anyways, dude, it has been so awesome having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. We've taken a bunch of your time, and we are so appreciative of you for making the time for us. Before we let you go, do you have any closing thoughts, any sponsor shout outs, or anything that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely got to shout out my sponsors. We got Upper Park, my bag sponsor, best bags that I've ever used. Cardinal Disc Golf, wearing their sweatshirt right now. They got super cool stuff. They're run by two pretty small disc golfers, one who's the designer for Prodigy and another disc golfer, Kevin Fodry, who incredible guy, super passionate about their company. And then AGL Disc, which is a super sustainable disc golf company, plants a tree for every disc you buy and made from recycled plastic. So shout out to all them. Appreciate that.
Love it.
Amazing.
How did you get hooked up with like AGL and Upper Park? Is it through your music, or were you tearing up the local scene, bagging A tiers and cash? And they're like, we got to have you on our team.
Upper Park reached out to me through my TikTok content because I did have a few viral stuff on TikTok, and they were the first sponsor I got. So they reached out to me before I even started posting stuff to Instagram. And then AGL, they just have an open application. A few people on AGL team is like, hey, you should, if you're open to a disc sponsor, apply to this. And I did and got in. And just a super cool company with a super cool mission, super small too. They're like very much not a big brand of discs, but the discs they make have good purpose and good people behind it.
Fantastic. Love it. Well, thank you very much again for joining us here on Miss Mando. I know that I can't wait to stream all your music all the time, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be doing the same. So that is it for KK. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show.
Appreciate you having me. Had a blast talking to you all, and hopefully I'll see you on the course in person one of these days.
Let's do it.
And welcome back to Missed Mando. Thank you so much to KK for coming on. That was such a fun interview. I'm still laughing a little bit from some of that.
That was amazing. Really, from the songs and the humor that he brings to it, I'm not surprised that was possibly our best interview of the series so far. Like, that was so much fun.
Yeah, it went better than I could have even thought to. I knew it was going to go well, but it went real well. And hopefully we do get him up to Toronto or the area sometime to have a loser gets slapped battle.
We'll have to stock up on our short shorts first.
Yeah, amen. I can't say I have very many short shorts. I'll say that.
There's a lawsuit in I'm not legally allowed to wear short shorts, and ain't nobody want that.
Someone's got to call the police.
Yeah.
But moving on to some local tournaments. We had, as I mentioned in the intro last weekend from when we're recording, we had the Stones Throw Spring Open. This was the second stop of the 2024 OCC Provincial Qualifying Series. And this was going down in Enterprise, Ontario, as a one-day C-tier, hosting 114 players across 14 divisions. Pretty good turnout for the fact that Stones Throw, at least from where I'm coming from, is really out there, and a little bit in the middle of nowhere too, but super worth it. There was no one playing in FPO this weekend, but it was a thrilling battle in MPO. After the first round, it was Spencer Young holding a one-stroke lead over friend of the show, Chris O'Zolins, and 2 over local pro Carter Yeomans, who I had mentioned in our White Spruce Winter Thaw recap. In round 2, it was a wild ride on the leaderboard through 9 holes. Oz was sitting at -2 for the round, while Spencer and Carter were at +2 and even par, respectively, which had Oz holding a 2-stroke lead over Spencer and 3 over Carter with 9 to play. But Oz would then go on to bogey, par, double bogey on holes 10 to 12, while Carter went birdie, par, par to give Carter a 1-stroke lead. And then after Oz got a stroke back on 13, it was tied going into hole 15, which is a par 4, OB right and left, and an island green that is surrounded by a moat of water. It is a really fun hole to play.
Wow.
For anyone that hasn't been out to Stones Throw, it is awesome. But Carter would unfortunately take a triple bogey on that hole. And Spencer was able to get a birdie. Oz took a par, which left Spence and Oz tied for the lead. Carter 3 strokes back. All 3 would then birdie 16, and on 17, Oz took a par. Spencer unfortunately bogeyed, and Carter took the birdie. So going into hole 18, it was Oz with a 1-stroke lead over Spencer, 2 over Carter. But the hole 18 at Stones Throw is tough, so anything can happen there. Spencer was able to clutch up. We'll hear him talk about it a little bit coming up with him when we have him on. But he clutched up, got the birdie. Oz took the par to send things into a playoff, and he was able to take it down on the first playoff hole. Oz left his drive wide and missed a long putt. Spencer had a great drive, stepped up from about 20 to 25 feet, and put it right dead center for the first MPO win of his career. Really awesome to see that from Spencer. We were sharing an Airbnb the night before for the weekend with a bunch of other people. So it was just fun to be around him all weekend and see him take that down. Also have to give a huge shout out to 13-year-old Brock Dowdle. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Brock. He was in the MA2 division. He struggled in round 1, but he bounced back with a neg 11 10-15 rated round as a 13-year-old. Absolutely insane. I first saw him play in a tournament last year where in round 2, MA1 and MA2 were playing the same tees, and he beat our entire MA1 field in that round. He shot the hot round from those tee pads, beating the entire MA1 division. So I got to see how good he was back then, but 10-15 at that age is just out of this world, and I have no doubt that Brock is going to have a really bright future in this sport if he continues to stick with it. Sean, what are some of your thoughts from that recap of Stone's Throw?
That Brock is just downright disrespectful of his elders. That is just insulting to old people like me, that someone that young can be that good already at this damn sport. That's incredible. Absolutely.
His form
incredible.
is so buttery smooth. It is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
Maybe he's offering lessons or something. I need a lot of help. This is that you'd love to see it. It's good. Can you imagine this kid this good now? In 3 years or whatever, if he sticks with disc golf, he's going to be destroying. He's going to be MPO like when he's 14. It's amazing.
Just skip by me in MA1 and go right to MPO, so I don't have to worry about it.
You don't need that competition.
No.
Speaking of competition that you don't need, our next interview tonight is the winner of the Stone's Throw, good friend Spencer Young. Really share your joy that he took down his first MPO win. It's so amazing, and we're really glad to have him on the show so we can learn a little bit more about the tournament and his company Gripped and Ripped. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into that interview with Spencer Young here on Miss Mando.
It's a pleasure to welcome our next guest. Hailing from Huntsville, Ontario, he's the owner of Gripped and Ripped, baby, and is coming off of his first pro win of his career last weekend at the Stone's Throw Spring Open. Welcome to the Miss Mando podcast, Spencer Young.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's an honest pleasure, and I'm excited for this. Yeah.
Thank you for joining the show. We are excited to have you. First off, again, congrats on your first MPO win out at Stone's Throw. You took down some top Ontario talent, notably friend of the show, Chris O'Zolins. Just take us through what it took to emerge with the win, how you were feeling through the day, and all that.
Yeah, it was an eventful day for sure. A real battle. That course alone in great conditions is very mentally challenging, but then add the water, the flooding, the mud, and by the end of it, I think everyone was just exhausted and mentally beat. Overall, I felt like I played very well. Like this year, I've been finding I'm throwing the disc really well, but then the short game and putting has been very subpar for what I like it to be. But at the same time, there was a few mistakes that turned into a lot of strokes, but I've generally played very, very well over, let's say, 30 of the 36 holes, but those 6 holes were not pretty to be honest. And I'm just glad that through kind of all the back and forth that happened throughout our division, I was able to get it to the playoff at the end and then able to take it down on the playoff hole, which was nerve-wracking for me in the sense I've never been to a playoff before, and especially against Chris, who I know I've seen him play playoffs, and he's been around for a while and been through what it takes to win. It was definitely nerve-wracking going to that tee for the playoff for sure, but I knew that hole was if I was going to win one, it was going to be on that hole one there. So I'm glad I was able to take it down there.
Talk to us about the conditions on Saturday. It was, I think, pretty challenging.
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially round one. Round one was a very, very hard time because before us had the MA2s, I believe, the MA1s, and a bunch of other divisions had played the same tee pads we were. So by the time being the last group out and the sun never came out, every tee pad was covered in mud, wet, and just footing was a major issue. And on that course, if you're not accurate, you're in for a bad time. Bogeys pop up quite quick. So at least with that, the mud was really bad round one, but then luckily in round two, things started to dry up, and overall was really good in a sense compared to round one, but still the back 4 or 5 holes were still pretty much underwater in a sense, and it's very difficult. Compared to Friday, we were very lucky. Like Friday, most of the fairways were completely flooded, but then a lot of water went back or drained away over the night and made it playable, at least for sure, but not ideal at all. The conditions were very tough and definitely made you think extra about every shot that you were doing.
Yeah, round one, you shot a 968 at a +1. That tells me it was some tough golf out there.
Yeah, it was very tough. Especially, I was able to play very safe, but I did have a 4-hole stretch that kind of ate me alive. I went 5 over through 4 holes with a triple bogey on that was just a slip off the tee pad into jail right away, and should have saved bogey, but wasn't able to, trying to scramble and get aggressive when should have just played it safe. But yeah, the course was definitely playing extremely tough. Par, or just some holes getting a par, you were ecstatic walking away from, for sure.
So you mentioned that it went into a playoff, of course. You're going into that playoff against Oz, who is, like you said, he's a very experienced disc golfer. He was also the highest rated in the division compared to you. I mean, not to like sewer you a little bit with this statement, but you were the lowest rated player in the MPO division for the tournament. So big ratings gap, experience, all that. And, you know, knowing Oz personally too. Although maybe did you have a little bit of extra motivation with all the memes that he was posting of you the night before, too, comparing you to Nate Doss and Bobby and all that? Just what were your overall feelings going into that playoff against Oz?
My heart was racing since like hole, I'm gonna say 13, because I realized I had a chance at it. I thought I had played myself out of it by the time I finished 12, and then just a couple bogeys by the other guys on 13 there. I thought I was able to push myself back to the tie, but then the pressure started getting to me there. I missed 2 short putts on 13 and 14, kind of back to back, and I thought that was it. I was kind of then on the back heels. I had to hope for some misses from guys, which ended up coming, but going to the playoff, it almost kind of felt like I was in a playoff from, I'm going to say, hole 15 onwards, because I was able to tie it up on 15, and I knew in my head that the scoring separation for me was on getting to hole 1, so I knew I just had to match kind of what Chris was able to do up into hole 1, because hole 1 was the hole that I kind of had figured out, which luckily we got to, but hole 18, hole 17, and hole 16 earlier that day, I just kind of went pars along, so I knew I just had to try to force it to hole 1, and that's ended up what happened. But yeah, the memes were kind of funny. We were just hanging around watching some disc golf, and then next thing you know, I'm getting tagged on something on Facebook and Instagram, and it's me and a picture of Nate Doss. So it's kind of funny. It said dream big, and I think the dreams are starting a little bit taking down Oz with that one, but in the end, it was a great battle, and I wouldn't have rather. That was the best person to go up in a playoff, kind of someone I've always looked up to and kind of wanted to compete against. And this year, it's finally happening where I can kind of not often compete against him, but when it is close, it's very interesting for sure.
And how much help did having me as your roommate the night before help for you to get the win? Because I mean, I got to take at least 5% of the credit or something. It's your first. There's a new trend. My first time as your roommate the night before a tournament. You know, things are adding up a little bit.
You were talking about dreams, and this had to have been a nightmare scenario, truly worst case that you never would have picked if it wasn't imposed on you under threat of violence. So how awful is Robbie as a roommate? He's terrible as a co-host. So I can't imagine how he is as an actual roommate.
It was interesting for sure. Maybe not the best of sleeps. It's kind of sounded like a car motor was going on beside of me, but like overall, it was pretty good. The fun night there, kind of with all the group. We had couple GNR guys and a couple other MA1 guys that have kind of gone through competing against throughout the last couple of years. So it's interesting that I think we all kind of started around the same time, or kind of got competitive around the same time, and now we're all like really close friends, all getting a place together. It was it makes these weekends special, right? So overall, maybe not the best sleeping option with him in the same room, kind of loud, but in the end, it's fun for everyone, I think, involved.
So you just mentioned, you've been playing for, or at least playing against some of these guys for a few years. So let's go back. How did you get started in disc golf? How long have you been playing?
I believe the first time I ever played was May 29th, 2021.
That's really specific.
Yeah, and I kind of remember it because it's on my U-Disc, but I actually was going, it kind of came up on TikTok, funny enough, but the Camp 31 barbecue area place by Paris. Mm-hmm. So at the time I was with my now ex-girlfriend, but we were going to Camp 31, and in the meanwhile, we actually went to Paris, the Green Complex, whatever the name of there, where the Green Lane Complex, just to kick a soccer ball and actually throw a frisbee. And I had recognized the basket in the forest. I believe it's hole 2's basket, or maybe hole 3's basket. I was like, I know what that is, but I never played it, because I was a sports kid growing up all the time, playing hockey. Played hockey all the way up until COVID. Then our season kind of got canceled, and then work kind of took over. But I'd watched disc golf on YouTube way back, maybe I'm going to say 2015, 2014. But at that time, I was kind of too young to do anything about it. I kind of just watched it and forgot about it. So we actually walked up to Craig and Jen Snow, and Dan, I can't pronounce his last name, but Darius, maybe something. And they actually lent us discs to play for the first time. So it's kind of funny full circle now that I know them quite well. And it's interesting that the first ever person to get me into disc golf is the Snows, who are Goat Towel and all that. So it's kind of interesting. And then from there, maybe 2 months later, I figured out what tournaments were and started competing, and the history is there since, and been very involved since. Yeah.
Bought the bug and wouldn't let it go.
Yeah, I think for me as well, it was kind of losing hockey. I played AAA hockey in the city or Toronto for a long time, or for about 5 years there. So going from being on the ice 6 to 7 days a week to not doing anything because of COVID, it was kind of like, oh, I can do this. And at the time I was living in Vaughan, so going to White Spruce almost every day was kind of a cool thing. And then it kind of just built from there. The competitive side came out, and just wanted to get better since.
Well, I also mentioned in your intro, you're the owner of Gripped and Ripped. Gripped and Ripped, represent. When did you start Gripped and Ripped, and what is the primary focus of GNR?
Yeah, so I started that. It would have been the start of 2022. And it kind of was a joke between me and my brother at the time, because we were like, oh, why don't we run a tournament? And from that tournament, my dad kind of suggested, hey, why don't you try to do a store and try to do something to get more involved? And I was always someone that wanted to get involved in things, always doing what I can to do better for the sports I'm involved in. So that kind of come of it. But then since then, it's kind of grown into this a lot bigger than I could ever expect. But basically, it allows me to be the backbone to achieve the tournaments I want to run and make everyone's experiences better through disc golf, because I know how much disc golf's done for me, and I know the effort I put in at tournaments. It might be the person's only tournament of the year, it might be their one of 30, but my goal is just My goal is to just make everyone's experience better, try to have more people into disc golf and try it out, because in the end, it's done so much for me already in such a short amount of time that I think more people that get into disc golf, they'll see the positive sides. And yeah, it kind of turned into that. And this year we kind of grew our team, which involves yourself, and it's kind of try to support people in our community that are doing something good for the community, try to improve themselves or a bunch of other reasons. And it's overall been way bigger than I imagined. I can't be happier with how things have been in the last 2.5 years or 2 years, however long it's been now. So yeah, it's been special.
When things changed in terms of like from when you started to now, your vision of, you know, what you want Gripped and Ripped to be, or compared to where you started and where you are now, what the future of Gripped and Ripped holds. You know, you only started, like you said, in 2022, I think you said. So in that short amount of time, with the growth that you've seen, how have things shifted for you?
Yeah, I think at the start when I was getting into it, I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of expected it to be more of the sales side that I'd be interested in, kind of grow that, and the tournaments would be secondary to that. But then it's kind of flipped on its head entirely, and the tournaments have been the big thing that we do, and what I kind of really enjoy doing, as this year is now going to be the third time I've run and been a part of a major event in Ontario, that being provincials or the Northern Ontario Championships. So it's kind of turned into being more of a tournament-based thing, with the sales being on the side. But yeah, the vision is kind of changing constantly, because again, the game's changing with kind of more growth, and the growth kind of steadying out. But in the end, it's still kind of just using it to make a pathway to grow the game or try to get people involved or anything like that. There's no set goal for us, because I've always been someone that believes that if you set your brain on one thing or focus on one thing, you'll never see the bigger picture, or you'll miss something. So whatever comes my way, I just try to jump on it and do what I can to make my life better or someone else's better.
So you don't have like 3 years, I want to run, you know, a bigger A tier. I want to try and, I don't know, do like what Haute Goat is doing this year with the Q series. Like, are you looking to build almost like a GNR tour or anything like that?
I've definitely thought about it. We kind of have something like that going on in Muskoka currently, in the Muskoka Shootout Series. Mm-hmm. So this year we're doing a minimum of 3 events. We have possibility of maybe doing 2 more, but it basically, it would be lovely to do that. And it is something I look forward to, but as more and more I get into it and deeper into running events, it becomes a lot more work. And it's at the point that, with my, sadly, disc golf isn't my full-time job. So I have a job, and this is kind of all on the side. So without burning myself out, because that's kind of something I am learning that I got to watch out for. I think currently there's not many goals like that. Like, yeah, they are dreams of mine to run a bigger A tier, run a Q series and all that. But I know from a standpoint of where I am at and the courses I run stuff at, it's not really feasible. I think for myself currently is just trying to iron out little mistakes I make, to just try to get better as a TV, get more people involved, try to improve my skills overall, because there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes I struggle with that I'm really working on. But yes and no. Like, I do have a hope of hosting nationals at some point, but a couple things have come up that kind of push that agenda back farther than I would hope. But in the meantime, the tournaments I run every year, I'm trying to focus on making those the best. And then if something does come up, yeah, I'd love to run something bigger, but at the moment it's perfecting what I'm already doing and not overextending myself.
So looking at this year, how many tournaments are you running this year? Are they all open on disc golf scene now? What's the planning like? I know we've already had one. We've talked about it on the podcast with the winter thaw. I know that a disc golf season for me isn't complete until I see a cherry red Spencer sitting in the sun at the White Spruce Open. How many are you running this year? Which are you most looking forward to? Are there any that you're worried about?
So currently we have, I know for sure 6 that are solidified. They're going to happen. So we've already had the early bird. And then we also have White Spruce Open, which you mentioned, which is also taking place, which will be an OCC stop. And then this year, the big one is provincials. So I'm working with a team. It's myself, Corey Murdoch, who's been a great help. She's been by my side for every big tournament I've run in the last 3 years. We brought on Micah Streeter, who's been nothing but a blessing for our provincials team this year. And then my brother, alongside that, he's kind of at every event. So he's more of the behind the scenes, getting the labor work done. And then some days on tournaments, he does run them. But so we got those 2 plus provincials. And then we have 3 Muskoka shootouts. So what that goes towards is trying to promote local courses and then also get people up here for provincials. Kind of, you can come out, get a competitive round in on the provincials courses. But there's 3 more of those at Dad's in Muskoka has one, which will be opening soon, the registration. And then there's going to be the Muskoka Open, or the Battle of the Alphas, which is going to be at Wolf Tracks in September, and that will be opening. I don't know when yet. We're still kind of ironing out all the details. And then the last one is the Eagles Lookout, which is at Limberlost, which is a featured course for provincials as well, which is open with very few spots left. I think there's about 10 for coming up in about 2 weeks' time, or a week time from when this comes out, which will be a very fun event, kind of a good get together with a lot of fun people. So yeah, 6 for sure. And I never know what else I can get wrapped up into a year. It could be 9 by the end of it. Who knows at this rate?
I really enjoy the tournaments that you put on. I'm looking forward to playing the White Spruce Open, and I really had a great time up in Muskoka last year. Limberlost is such a fun track to play. Being a TD is it's like a second job for you, basically. What do you see as like sort of the challenges or like gripes that you have about TDing? What do you think, or what do you think players should know about the challenges of being a TD, and maybe it'll help give them some different perspective when they come up and play events? With you kind of nailed it a little bit there. For almost every TD, I'm gonna say this: every TD in Ontario, there's no one doing it full time. Everyone is doing a second job. It's kind of like a second job. It's for a lot of people, we have full-time jobs, and then it's something we do to try to build the communities or what behind the scenes. So just understanding that we can't always answer emails right away, like we try, but it's not always the case. All of us have skills and strengths and all that. So just understanding that we still are human. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, and when we do, just let us off the hook a little bit sometimes. But in the end, I think most TDs, when they sign up, it's kind of knowing as an unforgiving and unthankful. I guess it's kind of sad to say, but it's thankless. I guess that's the correct word. Job for us. But for me, at least, I get a lot of satisfaction when you get everyone out of the tournament. You kind of see the smiles. Everyone's excited to be there. You get the people that come out for that tournament specifically. It's just all this kind of together kind of makes it worth it. But in the end, just if you ever see a TD, thank the TD, thank all the work, because there's a lot of work behind the scenes that no one sees. And I know there's a lot of stuff, and sometimes I catch myself up into it where I'm like, oh, that could be so much better. But there's always 100 things on the go, and 99 of them might get fixed, and that one you see might be the one that got left out. So just understand that none of us do it full time, and we're just trying to do our best, right? So that's the main thing for TDs, I think, is just understanding that this is a
second part-time job, basically.
Well, I got one more question for you. Going back to more of your actual play, you now have a MPO win. This was also your, I believe, third tournament that you've played in MPO this year. You had a good showing at the Winter Thaw, as anyone who knows you knows about, because you won't stop talking about it. And what does that mean for Spence going forward on the course? Are you going full-time MPO now? Are you going to go MPO and then drop down to MA1 for nationals like you did with MA1 and MA2 last year? What's the future hold for Spence?
I think for myself, nationals, I'm planning to play MA1. It just, without seeing the courses and the strength of the field, I think that's probably where I belong more likely. And when it comes to local tournaments, I'm kind of still teeter-tottering. I still have a lot of events. I've signed up MA1, and the MPO is full, or I can't swap, so it's kind of going to be a mix and match. I think for me, it's going to see how I continue to play over the next month or so before I kind of make that full-time decision, because, again, I've had these good showings in MPO, but then the one tournament I played MA1, it was not pretty, and it was a very bad tournament. So it's kind of one of those things I'm like teeter-tottering back and forth. I guess the goal for me would be to make that jump, but again, there's a lot of factors that go into it. My main thing right now is just trying to focus on not hurting myself, because I've kind of been battling a little bit of elbow pain this year, but luckily it's kind of feels like it's going away, but that's something that arises whenever. So yeah, kind of teeter-tottering between the two for sure this year, I think.
Well, as someone that's sick and tired of losing to you like I did a couple times last year, make that move a little bit quicker, please, and thank you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Anyways, Spence, man, it has been so awesome having you on the podcast. Before we let you go, do you have any, do you want to just shout out Gripped and Ripped? Do you have any other sponsors outside of what you do with Gripped and Ripped? I actually don't even know.
No, I don't. It's just purely Gripped and Ripped, which is sometimes funny because people are like, oh, shout out your sponsor. I'm like, yeah, myself. Like, I don't know if you guys, there's a PDGA coverage of the USWDGC where one of the girls got intronounced. Oh, sponsor, mom and dad. That's how I feel sometimes. Yeah, but Gripped and Ripped, yeah, on Instagram and Facebook. Support there, support all our team members. It's I think that's the thing I would shout out.
Yeah, shout out to my sponsor, Gripped and Ripped.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Keep it up the rest of the year. Hopefully an MPO, not an MA1, so I can do some stuff myself. And hopefully we can have you on another time. But until then, we'll see you out on the course. Thanks for joining, and we will be right back on Missed Mando. And welcome back to Missed Mando. So awesome to have Spencer on, someone that has become a really good friend of mine in the disc golf world. Obviously owns the company that sponsors me, so I'm not at all biased in that whatsoever, not one bit. But no, I love Spencer a lot. It was great to have him on, and just so happy for him getting his first MPO win.
He and his brother Mac are doing so much for the tournament scene in Ontario. It's really great to have him on and hear his perspective on things, and taking down his first MPO. That's big.
Yeah,
Very.
I can't wait to see cherry red Spencer sitting in the sun at White Spruce, as I mentioned in that interview. It's not a season without that happening. But let's continue that trend with some more Ontario topics and throw it over to you, Sean, to talk about some tournaments that we've got coming up here locally.
We've got 6 upcoming tournaments that we want to mention. First is the 2024 Project 15 Open. It's mostly sold out, but I think there's still a couple pro spaces left. This is a can't miss tournament at a fantastic course. Strong recommend there.
My first MPO event.
Sweet.
Yep. We're just praying for no DFLs. No DFLs, baby.
I don't like your odds. Next is the 6th annual Trig Memorial up at Screaming Heads. That thing is all sold out. It's waitlisted. Screaming Heads is one of the most fun courses I've ever played, and this event is always a good one. Next is the Winter Farms Spring Frenzy. That thing is sold out. Too bad you're not getting in. The next one is a spring thing at Haute Goat to benefit queer disc golf. That's still got some spaces available. It's going to be a super fun day, a round of singles, a round of doubles at a fantastic course. The home this year of a Q Series Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Super fun. One event that Spencer mentioned in his interview was the Muskoka Shootout number 3. That's got space still available. You can sign up for that on Disc Golf Scene. And for women with a passport, we've got the 716 Chicks in the Sticks going on at Hawks Landing, which is only about a half an hour south of Buffalo, something like that. It's a great event on a really fun, shorter, completely super technical wooded course with a whole lot of amazing women. Really recommend that. We also have a bunch of registrations that have either opened up or are going to be opening up shortly. Just opened up last night was the Guelph Royale. Used to be the Diameter Open last year, so you're playing 3 rounds on two courses at Eastview and Vic Valley. Great event. Definitely should sign up. Canadian Nationals registration is now wide open. Anybody can sign up out in BC. Another one across the border is the Bond Lake Open in Lewiston, New York. Bond Lake, it's a fantastic course. Really, really like it. It's got elevations, it's got woods, it's got bombers. A fantastic event. Strong recommend that. It's going to sell out, so definitely sign up soon. Next is another event to benefit queer disc golf. This is Chains for Change. This is going to be in Guelph. It's presented by Queer Disc Golf and the Guelph Disc Golf Club. That just dropped tonight. This is Tuesday when we're recording it, the 16th, and registration is open. Next is the Mississippi Mills Mayhem 2, supporting the Alzheimer's Society. That's out in Eastern Ontario, and that one is open. I've heard nothing but great things about their event. Coming up soon, the 2024 Guelph CWE Canadian Women's Event is opening on Friday, April 19th. Muskoka Shootout number 4 opens May 1st. The Newcastle Club Series event opens also on April 19th. And the Sandy Hollow Open as well opens Friday, April 19th. April 19th.
Busy day.
A busy day. There are so many Ontario and Western New York tournaments. We're so fortunate as players to have so many amazing tournament directors giving so much of their time and effort to put on these events for us to play. We're so fortunate as players, and we appreciate every single one of them. And get out there and play these events. They don't happen without players, and they're amazing.
Yeah. Kudos to all the TDs that are running all of these events. As someone who likes to do basically nothing other than compete in disc golf tournaments on weekends, at least for the past 2 years, I am super thankful for it. I think I am now officially busy every single weekend for a tournament until the end of September, I believe. So yeah, plenty to look forward to. But speaking of looking forward, let's do a little bit of some Pro Tour previews. This coming weekend, we've got the Music City Open presented by Lone Star Discs. Looking at last year's winners, Simon Lizotte and Kristen Tatar. were able to take it down. Possibly the best trophy on tour, a Gibson electric guitar, which
So
is just so dang cool.
Oh, good.
And this year, and this is also the event where we are getting the return of Eagle McMahon, which for those that turned into our fantasy draft episode will know that I am very excited for. But let's throw it over to you, Sean. Any thoughts on Music City Open, and give me your picks for the event as well.
I kind of want to go Eagle, just because it's Eagle McMahon. I kind of want him to win. Just make that statement, make that return. His rating hasn't really been updated. He's still rated as high as Gannon Burr, second highest rated on tour. Still, behind Calvin. But I haven't seen him throw. I don't know that he's gonna be able to take it down. I'm going the easy money bet on this one. I've lost too many of these picks. I'm going Anthony Barella. I mean, he's going back to back this week, guaranteed. How do you not pick Anthony Barella at this point? Like,
yeah,
it's like not picking Kristen. Like, yeah, he hasn't won everything, but she's still the favorite, and he's, I think, still the favorite. You gotta go him. On the FPO side, I know I literally just finished saying that. How do you not pick Kristen? I'm going to not pick Kristen, not because I don't think she's going to win, because she probably will. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Valerie Mondahano, primarily because I have her in our fantasy draft, and so I gotta represent my own team a little bit. So I'm going Val.
Little self-serving pick. I like that.
100% self-serving.
Love it. For me, well, on the FPO side, I'm pretty sure I am going to pick Missy Gannon. She won this event 2 years ago. Obviously familiar with it. And I don't want to pick Kristen. I don't want to do the chalk. I don't want to go chalk with it. But Kristen probably is going to win. I mean, coming off of Persimmon Ridge and Jonesboro, she has had back-to-back big wins. So we'll see. But I'm going to go with Missy Gannon. And then on the MPO side, just as a little recap for those that might not know, previous winners in order going back to 2018, we have Simon Lizotte, Chris Dickerson, Mason Ford, Alden Harris, Chris Dickerson.
Home court advantage.
Chris Dickerson? Maybe?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Chris Dickerson. Chris Dickerson is currently sitting in 11th in the Pro Tour standings. He has missed an event. He's also finished 28th, 6th, 9th, and 7th. So
not bad. Top 10.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. So yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Dickerson, multi-time winner of this event, as my MPO pick.
No reason he couldn't pop off this weekend. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to roll with. And then coming up one weekend after that, we have our next major of the year. This is the first major on the MPO side, the second major on the FPO side after they had USW DGC earlier already. Last year's champions, we had Isaac Robinson and Kristen Tatar. Kristen was a force to be reckoned with at all of the majors last year. I don't have the scores up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure she won this by double digits and just ran away with it. And the MPO side, I believe, was a closer battle, but Isaac was ended up taking it down. Notably, this tournament this year is going to be played at Northwood Black in Morton, Illinois, instead of its usual spot of at
ICDC.
The international, IDGC. I'll say something about that. That order of letters sounded weird. But of course, that the courses there are being redesigned after they had to cut out basically all of the trees due to some pine beetle infestation. So this year it is going to be at Northwood Black. Sean, let's send it over to you. What are some of your thoughts going into the tournament? And let's hear your picks.
I mean, Kristen's going 5 in a row. I think she's going to take it. I think she's going to take it down. I don't think Barella's going to get his first major here. I'm not feeling.
I don't think so either.
No.
I will. While you're pondering that, I'll make it easy and say that I'm also going to go with Kristen on the FPO side until she shows me to pick against her in majors. She seems to step it up in majors even higher than her already ridiculous high ceiling. Mm-hmm. So Kristen in a major, it's going to be a while before I pick against her.
I'm thinking I think Kristen or Missy.
Yeah.
Like Woods Tactician.
Yep.
Northwood is so hard and so wooded. It's just, I think you got to go with one of those two.
Northwood is also the second course at Ledgestone normally, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm right about that. Missy, a multi-time Ledgestone champion.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that pick. No, I'm going to change it. I'm going to pick Missy again. I'm going to do it.
I like it. It's a solid pick.
Yeah.
Solid pick.
While you're still, I don't know if you're still pondering, but while you're still pondering your MPO, I'm going to go for back-to-back. Isaac Robinson. He had a good performance at Jonesboro this past weekend, fell flat in the final round, and really was out of it like after the front 9 basically. But I believe he had the hot round in round 2 to tie for the lead, went into the final round with a lead, and Isaac is known as a woods tactician. Just a killer in the woods. He showed that last year at Champions Cup, and even though it's on a different course, it's still heavily wooded, and I like his chance. So I'm going to go with Isaac Robinson for the back-to-back Champions Cup.
So let's look at Ledgestone 2023. Isaac Robinson, the woods tactician, placed tied for 15th, not even in the top 10. Who took it down? Cole Radalin. Cool. It was Cole Radalin, Calvin Heimberg, Wysocki, and Ezra Robinson. Cole's an interesting pick. I mean, he's shown that he can take down this course before, obviously. He's great in the woods. I'll give it to him. I'm going Cole Radalin back to back.
Nice.
He's really, really good at Northwood Black, and I'll go with that. That's my pick.
Damn. Last year's Champions Cup winner and last year's Ledgestone winner. So who's gonna go back to back? The back to back winner of the tournament or back to back winner of that course? Who's it gonna be?
I like it. I like it.
I like that a lot. So yeah, that's what's coming up on the Pro Tour. Couple last little topics to touch on. Let's throw it over to you, Shawnee G.
2 pieces of news we're not going to talk too much about now because these are new, and I think these will develop over the season. First is that the Disc Golf Pro Tour has signed a partnership with US Integrity, whoever that is, to begin the process of launching professional disc golf into the world of sports betting. I don't know if I like this, but this was the obvious move when the PDGA brought scoring into PDGA Live and away from UDisc. Gives them total control. It gives them stuff that they can license out to raise money by sports betting. We'll see how this turns out. I saw on Twitter, I forget who it was who said it, but they said, I can't wait to lose my house because somebody chained out on 18. And then somebody replied, Tennessee Disc Golf, I think he replied, I can't wait to win your house because somebody chained out on 18. I don't know, it's sign of the times, unfortunately, but I don't know. We'll see if it's a good thing or not. I'm wondering who which caddy is going to steal the $300 that somebody cashed out at and betting and on sports betting. The next bit of news that they announced is that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is going to be testing standardized tee pads at the Music City Open. This has been a topic of much debate and discussion on the Pro Tour so far. Thinking back to episode 1 with Thomas, he was telling us how bad the tee pads were at Olympus, and the variability in tee pads has been a real problem on the tour for a while. So they now have a model that they're going to be taking around with them and hopefully will become the standard. These were previously tested at the Portland Open. They're turf. The Pro Tour is going to, I don't know, stick them in the back of one of their trucks and drive them around and install them at temp courses. This can only be a good thing to actually have standardized tee pads, maybe standardized baskets in the future. I don't know. I'm going to drop some links in the show notes if you want to learn a little bit more about that, but it's something that we're going to keep an eye on as the season progresses.
Yep, definitely something to keep an eye on. I think from what I've heard so far is that it's the plan. The plan is to use those standardized tee pads starting officially at all tournaments next year, and it's being tested now at MCO to see how that goes. So really exciting. Hopefully that doesn't bring up any more tee pad drama or anything like that in the future. We will see. We will see where that goes. But anyways, this has been a fantastic show. Thank you once again to KK and Spencer for coming on and joining us for some interviews. Those were absolutely a blast. And we are going to be off for the next 2 weeks. We'll be back with you to talk some tournaments, some local stuff, preview some stuff coming up, all the news in the disc golf world. But until then, I'm Robbie Holden for Sean Galbraith, and this has been Missed Mando. We'll catch you later.